Hey there friends, this is Grace and welcome to my channel. It's been a hot minute since I've done a layout share. I am still plugging along with the 2024 Scrapbook Generation Challenge, where they pull out or they present a prompt every week. And I'm filming this at the very end of August. And I think the last one I did was sometime in March or April. And so I'm just going to share with you all of the pages that I had made since then. I did go on vacation, and so I was not, there were about 3 weeks, I think it was 3 weeks, there were, maybe it was 4 weeks, I can't quite remember anymore, but it was sometime in July where I actually did not get to post my layout or create my layout on the week of the prompt, just because I was out of the country. But I did manage to kind of, you know, work back and be able to stay up to date. So that's really making me happy. But let's dive into the layout share. So the first layout that I'm going to share with you, the prompt was finished and unfinished layout. And so this is what I came up with. I call this unfinished because I actually pre-made the pages already. I'm going to tell you off the bat that I am learning. I think it goes this way. I have learned over the course of the years that I have been creating that I am not the kind of person that makes pre-made pages. It's just not my thing. I really like to start off with my pictures and the colors on my pictures and things like that. So when I don't have a story, we don't have pictures in front of me and just make pages, it's hard for me to go back and use them. But because you know, I really wanted to challenge myself. That's the whole thing about diving into this challenge, is really stretching myself and getting out of my comfort zone. I decided to go and pull out some pictures that I think would work well enough or okay enough, and then make this page. So most of these pictures are actually 4x6, which work really well because there were big chunks of squares and rectangles that would fit perfectly. I am not liking the color scheme because there's a lot of pinks in here, whereas my son, you know, it's a boy page. But I was able to use a finished or a pre-made page that I did, so I'm okay with that, and it's a page documented. The second one was the prompt was something that represents nature. And so what I did was I pulled some papers that had kind of an outdoor theme and then created this page. This is actually based off of a Scrapbook Generation sketch. I can't remember which one, so I apologize for that. But I also used some pictures of Scheels. I don't know if you have like an outdoor kind of store, kind of like Cabela's or Bass Pro. This one's Scheels, and it just recently, well, not recently, but when I took these pictures, it was recently opened. I think our Scheels here has been here for at least 3 years or so. Anyways, I did the outdoor scene here. This is my version of representing nature. And then the next one, this was week 22. The prompt was to use paper that's smaller than 12 by 12, and so I actually took that and thought about scraps, and so I used a bunch of scraps here. I used some strips of paper, as you can see. I also had these metal charms, like a Making Memories. I don't know if you guys remember that brand, but they were Making Memories metal accents, and I didn't really quite like what was on there to begin with, the design that was on there, and so I covered some of them with patterned paper. They also have a hole, so with these on the back, I decided to make sure that the hole was right behind my front one, so all I had to do was put a brad on the front one. The same with this one, I added some decorations to make that a little bit more, you know, going with the theme. Okay, week number 3 is oversize on a layout. So I decided to use this negative piece from a cut. So I did, like I just put the days of the week, and then this is the negative of all of that word cut. And so I just put that on my page. I like how these prompts allow me to use the items that I've just been kind of, saving for future inspiration. So I love that I'm pulling them out and being able to use them. I did back that up with some pink paper just so that it will have a backing for the letters, so you can read the words better. And then there are just 2 3x4 photos that I added there. Okay, then the next one is the 3 pattern papers. So I am going to try to cover these pictures up. I don't know if you guys are triggered by red meat, but these are pictures of my husband and his hunting group, and they did what we call the meat packing party. So right after they do their hunting, and if they get something, they all gather together in somebody's house. This year it was our house, and yes, it was very messy, but the men cleaned it all up. Anyways, I wanted to take a picture of their meat party because that's like the final get together that they have for their hunting trip. So the prompt was using 3 different pattern papers. So I used 3 here, and then I also added a few more things. And because it was a hunting trip, I added a little bit more of my outdoorsy, my hunting pictures, or sorry, my papers and stuff like that. All right, this one is embellishment clusters, and this one was, again, another super easy ones. What I love about this prompt is I could either go the easy way out, or if I'm inspired, or if I have the time, that I can challenge myself and make something that I've never thought of, or something outside the box for me. This week, I can tell you this one was an easy one. Like, I wanted to make an easy one because it was a busy time for me. But I also love the idea of creating clusters. So I made 3 different clusters over here, and I've been wanting to use lemons on a page because I have lemon paper, and it just so happens that I have these pictures of my son. And this we usually go to my in-laws in California, and they have a bunch of citrus trees in the backyard, and so we would gather some. As you can see, we filled this whole box with oranges and lemons, and so I was having my son just wash them for me before I started squeezing them. So I was able to use the lemon there, so that was fun. All right, the next one, the prompt here is square on layout. And so what I did was I made some squares and used that as a background. This is an 8.5 by 11, of course. And then I also used some squares over here. And then I tried to fill in some of the spaces over here with some embellishments. And this was a fun layout, but it was also a fast layout. So I love this challenge because I only need to focus on creating one layout a week. And for me, it just seems like it's more doable for me to keep up with that versus having to try to make 3 layouts in one Saturday. So I really have been enjoying this challenge. Is it sometimes difficult to find the time? Of course, but again, I like the idea of just focusing on one layout a week. That's really good for me. Okay, the next one is, this one was the first week of July. And so the prompt was, there were different prompts for each of the letters of the title July. So J, you can use like jet black or jewels or something like that. And then U for something, L something, and Y something. I think I use, again, I think because it's been a while, but I remember using jet black, uppercase letters, right here, a long title, and then I did add the year here. So that's what I remember doing for this. And I like how this layout came out really quick, even though it's a double page spread, because I have a lot of photos. But then at the same time, I just cut out some strips of paper and then went to town. So that was really easy for me. Also, and I cut out some stars, but stars are pretty easy to cut. Okay, and then the next one, this layout was actually, so I made this layout after I came back from my trip. And the prompt is using all 4x6 photos. And so I used all 4x6. Now, in these two photos, it just seems like there's a lot of background, but I wanted to stay with the challenge. So I had added a vellum where I cut out an oval shape and kind of framed my daughter on the picture. Fun fact, so this dress that my daughter was wearing in this picture, this was her senior prom outfit, and this is a dress that my mom wore and that she gave me. I actually wore that same dress, but I lost that picture. So instead of having the 3 generations wear that dress, only 2 generations. But that's all good. I'm fine with that. Okay, the next one is use at least 3 different strips of paper. And so I use them over here as my background, and then my photos are in the middle. I like the strip prompts a lot because it makes creating the backgrounds or creating lots of pattern on your paper super easy. Okay, the next one was this was week 30, and the prompt was to put something on your page, 30 of something on your page. And so I decided to add 30 hearts. I actually have 30 hearts here, and yes, you can count if you want to pause the video because I double counted to make sure that I had 30 in here. So there's different sizes of hearts here, and some are even stickers, like this one and this one are stickers, and I added like vellum pieces and some die cut pieces. But anyways, these are hearts, and I put that in an 8.5 by 11 picture. I don't know if you're familiar with this, but this is I think this is Balboa Park, if I'm not mistaken. It's over in San Diego. It's next to the big ship over there. Oh, I can't remember anymore. But anyways, if you live in San Diego, if you've been there, you are familiar with this statue. All right, then the next one, this is week number 31. The prompt was that you're going to use a color palette. And so I decided to do warms, cools, and then the blacks as kind of my neutrals. And because I have a lot of photos on this particular event, I decided to just keep the patterns in a circle to kind of contain them. But also I like the circle accent because it mimicked, you know, of course, the wheels from the car show that my son and I were in, but I still were able to add some fun details to it, and then my journaling. And I really like this one. This is one of those things where I've been saving for a long time, and it just worked perfectly for this particular layout, so I'm happy about that. All right, the next one, prompt number 32, is stitching. And so this is one of those weeks again where I'm super busy, but of course I wanted to still participate. And so what I decided was I grabbed some very large letter stickers from Creative Memories. These are just plain white, and then I just did pen stitching. Of course, if you have more time, I think it would look really nice with the texture of actual hand stitching, but I didn't have time for that. But I did add some tags in the background because that's the only place that I could add some patterns and designs, because the top and the bottom of my layout houses my photos. All right, we're getting close to the end here. So this one is week 33, and the prompt is oddness, odd number of photos. So I did 3 photos here. It doesn't look very symmetrical with the journaling over here, but there's 3 photos here. And I also did 3 places for the stars. I did 3 stars and 3 placements of it. And I really like the circles of this in this area because it broke down all of the straight edges, straight corners of the squares and the triangles. Okay, this one was week 34, and the prompt here is repetition. So what I decided to do was stamp some of one. I have this favorite Heidi Swap stamp set that have words on there, and so I just stamped them here as a pattern, and I repeated them, of course. So that was my kind of homemade pattern paper and showing the repetition. I also repeated these small parts or rectangles over to the bottom to make it look like they're just like one panel when it's really they're just small blocks to make it go for the top and the bottom. All right, the last one for this batch is the prompt for this one was using, there were 3 different versions. You can use all cardstock or all pattern papers, or using cardstock or pattern paper with some specialty paper. I wanted to challenge myself to do just all cardstock because I don't do that all the time. As you know, as you've been watching my my videos in my channel, you know that I love pattern paper, but I really wanted to challenge myself to see how I can dress up cardstock. And so I did a lot of mixed media here. I don't do that all the time, but when I do it, it's really enjoyable. But I'm gonna say do it when you have the time. When I did this past week, I actually had a good amount of time to be able to focus on this. And again, 1 layout a week for me is doable, and so that's what I did. The first thing I did was actually to stamp this floral stamp right here, and I heat embossed that, and then did some watercoloring to add some color to that. I messed up because I wanted to do two-tone, but it didn't look good. So I kind of tucked the messed up parts over on the back because I don't want to lose that. I did all the work, but then it also adds a little bit more of color. It picks up that color of this stencil with the flower. And then what I did was I inked up the edges of my cardstock. I started with a white cardstock, and then I actually did 2 different kinds of stencils. You're not going to see it over here, but there's a subtle floral, kind of a rose pattern over here. That's a stencil. And then these words over here are also a stencil. And then I put my photos. They were 4x6, but I trimmed them down because there were some open space or negative space on the top. And then I put them in the center, kind of in the bottom area. And this is a thickers, just gold thickers over here. And then I also heat embossed some of this wording from that stamp set, and then added a little bit of some mist to add those black dots. And I would have to say this is one of my favorites. I pulled out the colors from my dress and my daughter's dress to make that stand out a little bit more. But I love how, you know, you can see that even with just plain paper, you can make some beautiful work if you have the right tools and if you have you know, your imagination and your creativity going for you. Okay, so those are my layouts for this batch of Share. I hope you guys liked it. If you do like these kinds of videos, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Let me know, out of all of the layouts that I shared, which one is your favorite. Leave that in the comment section below. If you want more information about this Scrapbook Generation Scrapbook Squad Facebook group, make sure that you check the description box below, because I will have a direct link to the Facebook group. And yes, you have to have a Facebook account to be able to be part of the group. So if you are not into Facebook, then I apologize. You're just going to have to find a different group. But again, these are my pages so far, and I just love having to, being able to color in my hearts. I really enjoyed that part, and being able to see the fruits of my labor. And I can't wait to do like a 52, is it? Yeah, I think it's 52 kind of page share at the end of the year, and see how I've grown, how if this challenge has helped me to stretch out of my comfort zone, and all of the ideas that I was able to come up with the prompts that was given. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye now.